Okay, I have a question, and I need you to be really honest with me.
That's never a good opening.
Have you ever said, I need space, and actually meant just that? Nothing else underneath it, no hidden message, no test, just, I need space.
I mean, sometimes, yes?
Sometimes. Okay, so what's the other times?
Don't look at me like that.
I'm just asking.
Fine, not always just that. Happy?
Extremely. Because I think I need space is one of the most overloaded sentences in the English language. 3 words that can mean 30 different things, and nobody talks about what's actually underneath them.
Because admitting what it actually means requires a level of honesty most people aren't ready for.
Exactly.
So break it down. What does it actually mean?
At the most innocent end, I'm genuinely overwhelmed. I'm overstimulated. I've been around people all day and I just need to be alone to reset. It's not about the relationship at all. It's just about being human and needing quiet sometimes.
Okay, that one I believe.
And then there's, I'm frustrated with you specifically, but I don't have the words for it yet. So I need distance to figure out what I'm actually feeling before I open my mouth and say something I don't mean and can't take back.
So, I need space is sometimes just, I don't know how to say what's wrong.
Yes, and that's not manipulation. That's just someone who needs time to process before they can communicate. Some people genuinely cannot talk through things in real time. They need to go away, sit with it, let it settle, and come back with something coherent. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And then there's the darker versions.
Then there's, I'm pulling away and I want to see if you'll chase me. Or, I'm losing interest, but I'm not ready to say it out loud yet. Or, I want out of this entirely, but I don't have the courage to say that directly. So I create distance and hope the situation somehow resolves itself without me ever having to do the hard thing.
So the same 3 words can mean anything from I'm tired to we're basically over.
And the person on the receiving end has absolutely no idea which one it is. They're just standing there holding a sentence that could mean anything.
Which is actually kind of cruel when you think about it.
It can be. It really depends on whether the person saying it even knows which one they mean. And a lot of the time, they don't. They're just reacting, not communicating.
I think there's something biological underneath all of this that doesn't get talked about enough. When we're in emotional conflict, the brain goes into a threat response. Cortisol spikes, the nervous system activates. You're essentially in a low-level fight-or-flight state. And one of the most effective ways to regulate that is distance. Literally removing yourself from the source of stress so your system can calm down enough to think clearly again.
So, I need space might sometimes just be the brain saying, I cannot process this right now. I need to calm down before I say something I'll regret.
Exactly, which is actually healthy when it's used that way. The problem is when it becomes a pattern instead of a tool, when it stops being temporary regulation and starts being a permanent default.
When space stops being a way to come back clearer and starts being a way to avoid coming back at all.
And there's a term for the cycle that builds around it: pursue, withdraw. One person senses distance and instinctively moves closer, texts more, asks more questions, wants to talk it through immediately. The other person feels that pressure and pulls further away to protect themselves.
And the more one chases, the more the other retreats, until the gap between them is so wide that neither one remembers how it started or who moved first.
Until someone either breaks completely or shuts down and goes numb just to survive it.
I have been on both sides of that, and honestly, neither one feels good. When you're the one chasing, you feel desperate and invisible, like you're screaming into a wall. And when you're the one withdrawing, you feel suffocated and guilty at the same time. You want to breathe, but you also know you're hurting someone and you can't stop.
Both people are suffering, just in completely different ways, and neither one can see the other's experience clearly from where they're standing.
Here's what I actually think, though. I think I need space is often less about the other person and more about the self. Like, I don't know who I am in this relationship anymore. I've given so much of myself to it that I've lost my own edges. I can't tell where I end and the relationship begins. I need to step back and find myself again.
Okay, but I want to push back on that.
Go ahead.
Because sometimes I need space really is about the other person and what they're doing. It's a soft boundary. It's someone saying, the way you're showing up right now is not okay for me. And instead of saying that directly, which is terrifying, they create distance as a protective measure. They're not lost. They're protecting themselves from something specific.
That's fair, but then the question is that distance actually communicating the boundary, or is it just punishing the other person while avoiding the real conversation that actually needs to happen?
That's the line, isn't it? Distance as a boundary versus distance as punishment.
And from the outside, they look absolutely identical. You have no way of knowing which one you're in just from the silence.
So, how do you tell the difference?
It comes down to what happens after. A boundary has a return. There's a conversation waiting at the end of the distance, and the person who asked for space actually shows up for it. Punishment just continues until someone gives in or gives up entirely.
And the person being given space has no way of knowing which one they're actually in.
Unless the other person tells them, which most people don't, because telling them would require having the very conversation they're using the distance to avoid.
Because saying, I need space, but I'll be back, and then we should talk about what happened, requires a level of self-awareness that most people genuinely don't have in the middle of a raw emotional moment.
Right. It's so much easier to just go quiet and hope that time does the work for you somehow.
Even if going quiet is slowly destroying the other person while you're gone.
Even then, yeah.
Can I say something that might make me sound bad?
Always.
I think sometimes people say, I need space because they want the relationship to do the work for them. Like, if they pull away and the other person fights for it, chases them, proves they care, they have their answer. And if the other person doesn't fight, if they just accept the distance and let the gap grow, they also have their answer. And the person who asked for space never had to be vulnerable at all. Never had to ask for what they actually needed or say what they were afraid of.
That's not making you sound bad. That's just honest. It's a test, and most people who run it don't even realize they're doing it. They genuinely believe they just need space.
Which is the scary part. The self-deception is so complete that it doesn't even feel like a test. It just feels like a need.
You're connecting everything back to last week's episode again.
I mean, it keeps coming up for a reason.
Fair point, actually. I think the most honest version of I need space, the version that would actually help the other person instead of just protecting yourself, sounds something like this. I care about this enough to not ruin it by saying the wrong thing right now. I'm not going anywhere. Give me a little time and I'll come back with something real.
That version takes real courage, though. Most people aren't there.
All the honest versions take courage. That's exactly why people reach for 3 words instead of the full sentence.
3 words that mean everything and nothing at the same time.
And the person who hears them is left standing there, trying to decode a message that maybe even the person who sent it doesn't fully understand yet.
That's the loneliest part of it. You're trying to read something that was never really written, trying to find meaning in a silence that might not have any.
Yeah.
If you've ever been on either side of this, and honestly, most of us have been on both, maybe the question worth sitting with tonight is, what were you actually trying to say? And did the other person ever really get to hear it?
Thanks for being up with us.
3 a.m. Talks. We'll see you next time.